Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. While everybody was talking about President Obama's anodyne commencement speech to 2020 high school grads, Mitch Daniels was making remarks for the class of 2020 at Purdue, more than 7,500 graduates. He made those remarks at an empty hall, saying, I never expected this, to be addressing you with me in an empty hall and you far away, wherever you're viewing this virtual ceremony. He had some interesting comments. He focused a lot on the tribalism that he's talked about a lot. He talked about when he was governor of Indiana as well. Yeah. Also, the epidemic of loneliness. He writes, in recent years, I've spoken about the tribalism that now divides Americans. I've talked about the seeming shortage of emotional resilience and grit in your peer group. Twice I find myself urging graduates to guard against the so-called big sort, the tendency for young people of your quality and educational attainment to cluster together professionally and socially and to drift apart from those of different backgrounds. And he goes on to talk about what he calls anti-social media and how that drives loneliness and atomization that is unhelpful. Well, let's get a first-person perspective, not just on the Purdue experience and Mitch Daniels' commencement address, but on college for recent college grads more generally. And to do that, we're pleased to be joined by Madeleine Bazarek. She is a Purdue University graduate, class of 2020. Madeleine, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, congratulations on your graduation, too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride, yeah.
What was your major?
I majored in speech language hearing sciences, and I minored in human development and family studies.
Oh, okay. Very good. Right. Well, so you'll probably get a job. That's good. You didn't do something like economics or medieval art, and so forth.
No,
you'll probably get a job.
Yeah, it was Renaissance poetry, like some of us humanities buffs did. So tell us about the Purdue experience and how you received Mitch Daniels' concerns about loneliness, about anti-social media, as he terms it, about tribalism.
Well, so when I was watching it, like you said, you kind of covered what he talked about. He said along the lines of basically get off social media, like log off. And I agreed with him. I mean, during this whole time, you can't go see your friends anymore, so we have to kind of rely on social media. But even at school, before all COVID happened, a lot of the times our friends would be on our phones when we'd all be together. And it was a little frustrating whenever we would be with our friends and we would be on our phones. And I'm just like, hey, like, get off your phone. So I definitely agreed with him on that whole aspect. So, yeah.
Do you feel that you got robbed, cheated in any way by this whole COVID thing?
Oh, without a doubt, 100%. Like, when we first found out, it was awful. There was no other words to describe it other than numbing. I actually read that in the Wall Street Journal. They were interviewing some college students, and one college student said that this was the most numbing experience, and I think that's like the most accurate word that you can use to describe this whole situation.
What about the resilience issue and the question as to whether or not people of your age group and your educational attainment are resilient enough because of sort of how they're pampered in life, particularly on college campuses?
Well, this whole situation just proves how resilient we were as a class. Like, at first, when we heard all of this going on, the first question we thought is, what are we going to do at school? Like, are we going to be continuing? A lot of my friends at school, we weren't sure if we were going to graduate because we had labs or in-class hours that you had to do, and we weren't sure if it was going to happen, and we were able to persevere and get through this whole thing, and we graduated through one of the most difficult times that we've ever experienced in the world, so definitely.
Have you been back to the campus to, gather your things, clean out your dorm room?
Yeah, actually, this past weekend, I left my house on Thursday with my mom, and we went down to Purdue. We moved out all my things on Thursday, and thank God a bunch of my friends were still down there. So, like, Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday, we just all hung out. Saturday morning, me and a bunch of friends, we all got dressed up, and we walked around campus in our cap and gowns, and we all took pictures, which was fantastic. I think we really needed it.
Everybody 6
And
feet
we're social
apart,
distancing, yes.
masks, so nobody had to be beaten by police or anything.
No, not at all. Well, Purdue is in Indiana, and so they started to
Yes,
open up, so we were all okay. And it was
yes.
actually kind of funny. We have a statue of Neil Armstrong on campus,
Mhm.
and one of my friends put a mask on him, and we all took pictures with him, so it was pretty funny.
There you go. One small mask for mankind.
Yeah.
So with respect to the conversations with your friends, how have they changed in the last couple of months as we've dealt with this pandemic?
Um, well, like I said earlier, I definitely think we became stronger because of it. Um, how else would you describe it? I think we started to be more aware of what was going on and how something can be taken away from us within the blink of an eye. And
Mhm.
we definitely matured more. Like, we were already pretty mature, but I think we matured real fast when we heard that school was over for us, graduation was taken away. We also just started to like notice how a government could like completely change everything for you so fast.
Mm.
Oh.
Maybe not in your particular peer group, but generally, do you find like all the as Daniels calls it the big sort, the all the identity politics stuff has that those conversations have sort of dissipated in the face of more important topics to tackle.
I'm not entirely sure what you mean.
You
Can you
mean like
rephrase that?
like people talking about white people versus black people, gay people versus straight people, all the identity politics on college campuses generally, where people are sort of self-segregating by their skin color or their religion or their sexual orientation and making claims based on which groups they belong to. Has that ever been a part of the conversation within your peer group? And if so, seen a has that receded a bit in the face of the pandemic?
I see what you're saying. Honestly, most of my friends are pretty conservative. There was
Mm.
a couple that wasn't like I didn't seek out conservative people. That's just how it ended up happening. But I definitely noticed it throughout campus, even through Instagram. Like my friends from high school, they like I kind of knew in high school, even at the time, what political party how people identified, and just seeing how like more Democrats were saying you have to listen to the government, you have to quarantine, you got to wear the mask, and then you'd see a lot of the Republicans saying this is a little much at this point, like relax. And I definitely did start to see more segregation based on political party and anything else people identified from.
Mm.
Now, unfortunately, we're not out of this yet. During his graduation speech, did Daniels talk about the future, about next year, about reopening Purdue and other Purdue campuses?
He did make an address in an email he sent out to us that he was going to open up Purdue for the fall, but it was definitely going to be different. It was official as of last week that Purdue was not going to have a fall break for next year. They were just going to go straight through classes all the way up until Thanksgiving break, and then they were going to be put online. And I didn't really understand why you would go straight from in-person class to online. I think in my mind it would make more sense if you did online classes and then go to in-person class.
And
But so
it,
far nothing about graduation for them, yeah.
as you're looking forward to entering the job market, and again your peers as well, what are some of the concerns that you have as you're seeing everything unfold?
Not having a job, honestly.
Yeah.
I was in the hiring process of working at a speech pathology practice clinic type setting, and I had an interview for it. I came in and I shadowed to see what their practice was about, and I was supposed to shadow a couple of like speech therapy sessions and a couple of applied behavioral analysis sessions, but those canceled last minute because kids got sick, and that makes sense. And I was supposed to come in for a second shadow day, and it was going to be March 19th, and that's when Illinois started to go into quarantine, so they had to cancel it. And I've been emailing the office saying, like, hey, any chance, like, do you know anything about me coming in? And they said, I don't know. We have no idea when we're opening. And it's just going to be very hard because a lot of people are not going to be hiring. They mostly let off people in the entire job market. So it's very frustrating and worrying to
Have
know
you-
if I'm going to
yeah.
get a job soon.
Have you had any other online interviews via Zoom?
No, actually, like all the places I've been applying to, they said, we're not hiring right now. We'll call you when we are ready to go, but we're not hiring. We need to focus on the people that we got right now before we take on any more people.
And I assume you're looking outside of Illinois as well. I hope you are.
I am. I definitely am. I mean, mostly in Illinois because my whole family's here,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely outside Wisconsin, Indiana. Yeah.
All right, Madeleine Bazarek, Purdue University graduate class of 2020. Congratulations on your graduation, and good luck with your job search as well. We appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You've all probably heard of asbestos and know that it's dangerous. You may also know exposure to asbestos is the only known cause of mesothelioma, a deadly cancer. People who were exposed to asbestos decades ago are being diagnosed to this day with mesothelioma. That's because it can take as many as 30 or even 50 years to develop. But did you also know there is money to pay victims of asbestos exposure from years ago? An estimated $30 billion is available to help compensate victims and their families. If you or a member of your family have been diagnosed with mesothelioma, you may be able to receive some of this money without ever going to court or filing a lawsuit. Get a free legal review today. Call Sokolov Law at 1-800-972-3229. That number again, 1-800-972-3229, 1-800-972-3229. Call today, 1-800-972-3229.
Hey, if you want to run a business with an office or warehouse, now's the time to take action to keep your facility, your employees safe and healthy. Right now, hospital and surgical grade disinfecting is available for all surfaces. The disinfecting is EPA registered and approved for coronaviruses and 140 other organisms. Folks, this is better than deep cleaning. It's made to take care of what we're dealing with right now. So take action now.